Now, of course, on social media, you've been talking about your own upbringing in Lebanon, your idyllic childhood, the takeover of Hezbollah and other Islamic militants. Could you speak about your childhood and also what it was like watching your country change before your very eyes?
Thank you for asking that question. People that hear me speak, they can tell the passion in my voice. I am passionate because I know what happens when people turn a blind eye to evil. My 9/11 happened to me in 1975 when radical Islamists, Palestinian radical Islamists, blew up my home, bringing it down, burying me under the rubble wounded. I ended up in a hospital for 2.5 months and later ended up living in a bomb shelter underground in an 8 by 10 room without electricity, without water, and very little food. And that's where I lived for the next 7 years of my life, robbed of my youth from the age of 10 to 17. I was used as a human shield as a child by the Palestinians who occupied our town for a very short time. They used to park their rocket launchers right in front of our bomb shelter where we were hiding, four families with 9 children. And they used to use their rockets to launch at Israel, fully knowing that when Israel retaliates, we're going to be the images shown on the evening news worldwide. I remember my mother going out and begging, getting into a fight with the Palestinian leader who was leading that tank, and he wouldn't even move the tank. And my mother begging him, "We have 9 children in this house, in this bomb shelter." Hamas is a terrorist organization, no different than ISIS. They are willing to use people. That people are collateral to them. They don't care because just what we're watching in the news right now, they are willing to sacrifice their own people if that will score them political points. And that's exactly why for Hamas, it's a win-win, whether they kill Israelis when they launch their bombs or when the bombs fall short and they fall on a hospital in Gaza, for example, and kill 500 innocent civilians. For Hamas, it's a great PR point regardless of who dies. And that's why we have to understand we are dealing with a terrorist organization like ISIS. Hamas is ISIS 2.0, basically. And that's why Americans need to understand why we need to stand with Israel, why we need to fight this fight that we have been dragged into, by the way. We do not want to get into war. We do not want to be in another Middle Eastern war or any war for that matter. But right now, we have 2 ships in the Mediterranean. Biden is already there. Iran is coming after us. We are already engaged in this war, and we need to stop it. And I encourage people to go to our website, actforamerica.org, actforamerica.org. Right now, sign up to receive our action alerts. We're working on bills in Congress right now to secure America and make sure we stand with Israel.
My heart just broke as you were talking about your story. I had known some of it, but hearing it more in detail, I can't even believe what you had to go through. But really, it's made you the strong woman that you are today, advocating for what's right in a world that's full of what's wrong so oftentimes. And so, of course, we're very happy. We're very grateful to have an inspirational person like you joining us tonight.
Thank you.
And so also what you talk about when you're talking about Hezbollah and how they're solidifying power in southern Lebanon and elsewhere, and how they get their funding, how they get their weapons from Iran. You talk about some of the trail lines that go through Syria and some of the other nations in the area. Can you talk to us about some of those logistics as well as how exactly Iran helps and backs Hezbollah, Hamas, and groups like them?
Uh, Iran created Hezbollah in Lebanon. They were created in 1982. And by 1983, when Israel invaded Lebanon, Hezbollah was basically 1 year old and they bombed the Marine barracks in Lebanon. So Iran started building Hezbollah back then. They wanted a proxy army in the Middle East. And so they started using Syria to funnel weapons to Hezbollah. That's how they are getting weapons to Hezbollah, through Syria. And that's why Israel a few days ago bombed the Syrian airports, especially the airport in Aleppo, and bombed 7 trucks bringing weapons into Hezbollah from Syria. As this war progresses and Israel enters the ground invasion, goes into Gaza, we know that Hezbollah is going to become engaged in the northern front of Israel, starting to shell Israel.